Welcome to this Java Break with Basis. Today we're covering an exciting topic, embedding widgets in your BBX app. We're going to show you a couple of examples. Embedding widgets into an app builder app, embedding widgets into a character-based BBX app, be it written in BBJ, Pro 5 or Visual Pro 5, and also embedding a widget into a Barista built BBJ application. Let's get started. We're first going to cover what is an embedded widget. We'll talk about embedding it in BBJ, embedding in Visual Pro 5, and finally how you can achieve the same functionality in Pro 5. And then we'll take your questions. Firstly, what is an embedded widget? Well, you know what widgets are. They appear in the dashboard utility. So in this example over here under the accounting category, we have several examples of charting widgets, including tables of information. Here we're running it on an iPad in a browser user interface. To give you the full story on the dashboard utility, we suggest you go and review one of our prior Java breaks, available either via our YouTube channel, shown here, the Java break adding Basis's new digital dashboard utility, and of course you could subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notifications whenever we add new videos. Or you can go to the Java Break archive on basis.com and have a look at the session that we ran on the 11th of June. What is the dashboard utility? It's a set of real-time charting widgets. It allows you to visualize your BBJ, Pro 5, Visual Pro 5, spreadsheet, and third-party data from ODBC or JDBC. So really a tool that's going to be usable across any set of data you have in your business. You can add it to your legacy BBX solution. Users can be empowered to save, email, and determine the refresh settings for particular charts. They can also select which widgets will appear and in which order they appear in. Now we move on to embedding dashboard widgets into your application. You can embed a number of different objects into your existing BBX application. You can embed an entire dashboard, a single dashboard category, or one or more dashboard widgets. An entire dashboard would look like this. So here we see a BUI app, a BBJ program, that has various controls available, including the full dashboard highlighted here with the red ring. We're going to focus today though on embedding one or more dashboard widgets into your particular application. We'll do it firstly in BBJ, then in Visual Pro 5, and then finally in Pro 5. Beginning with BBJ, of course, it's ready to go because the dashboard utility is written in BBJ. We'll show you how you can invoke it from a BBJ CUI thin client. In our case, we'll use the add-on software version 6 character user interface application, and we'll call a program to construct the widget in a new window. We could also launch the program that generates the widget from within a CUI terminal emulation session. We'll show you that more when we run through the example with Pro 5. What we do is we print escape characters, incorporating the URL with the parameters to launch the browser on the same desktop. Let's look at our deployment. We have BBJ running on a server, and then on the client side, we either run in a terminal emulator in the character user interface, or in the character user interface in thin client, or in GUI. When we're running our character user interface application through the terminal emulator, we can launch a BUI application to display the chart. We're going to show you some examples of how we can create a thin client solution with the BBJ widget code running in App Builder. And then we'll show you how you can incorporate that same capability with the Barista application add-on software. Let me hand over to Nick Decker to show you how we embedded a charting widget inside of an App Builder application.
We have a customer maintenance program that we wrote in App Builder a few years ago. It runs in GUI and in BUI, and it gives us a view into many aspects of the Chili Company customer database. One distinct piece that was missing from the application is an insight into each customer's account receivables. To remedy this, we added a new AR aging tab and populated it with data-bound controls that are tied into the underlying customer record set. This worked out well, as the aging fields are automatically updated as we navigate through the list of customers. But numbers can only go so far, so we added a pie chart to the form that allows us to quickly see how much the customer owes us and how far behind he is on payment. We took advantage of the Basis dashboard utility's ability to embed widgets into any BBJ GUI program, And we were able to add the pie chart in 2 steps. Step 1. We modified the init code block to create the pie chart widget and then embed it into a BBJ child window on the AR Aging tab. We can easily jump to that code in the project using Eclipse's bookmark capability. We only have to create the chart once because we can swap out the chart's data whenever the user selects a new customer. That's not only convenient, it's much faster than creating an entire widget from scratch each time a new customer is loaded. Because we're dealing with financial data, we can add a currency background image to the chart to give it some character. And we can also set the chart's colors so that the red past due pie slices get darker as the aging period increases. Step 2. We then wrote a short routine to fill the chart with data from the currently selected customer in the underlying record set. Clicking our next bookmark brings up that section of code. The routine is associated with the tab select event, so each time the user clicks on the AR Aging tab, this code will fill a pie chart with current data if it hasn't already done so for that customer. We're pretty pleased with the end result. With a little bit of time and code, we greatly expanded the usefulness and capabilities of the customer maintenance program. The embedded dashboard widget improves the visual appeal of the app and also makes it much easier to see the account status of customers based off of the slices of the pie and their colors.
Thanks, Nick. Let's see how we can do the same thing now with a character-based app running in Thin Client. Back to you.
To further integrate the dashboard utility into existing applications, let's see how we can modify a character-based add-on program running in Thin Client mode so that it displays aging information in a new graphical window. We begin by adding in an scall to a new BBJ program that will create the chart. To ensure that the program reports on the correct customer, we'll pass in the firm ID and the custom as arguments to the program. The BBJ program launches and attempts to get the firm ID and custom as client-side variables or program arguments. It then proceeds to retrieve the necessary information from the database and uses it to create the pie chart widget. After creating the widget, the program sets the data for the chart, creates a new GUI window, embeds the chart in the window, and sets a callback on the widget's Close Tool button. Now that all of the code is in place, let's run add-on and try out our new code. After entering the customer number, we select the Aging and Sales Summary Inquiry option. The character-based screen appears with the relevant data, and our scall results in a GUI window with a pie chart, showing the data from the original application in a graphical format.
Thanks, Nick. Let's look at our last pure BBJ example. Here we've seen how we've embedded the widget in a Barista app. I'm going to hand over to Paul Yeomans to demonstrate that.
So here's add-on software, and we're going to navigate to Accounts Receivable, Customer Maintenance area. We're presented with 3 tabs providing additional master record information for, in this case, the first record, Everest Industries. When selecting the Aging and Sales Summary tab, we have a graphical widget that presents a pie chart with aging totals. But what about displaying negative values? Pie charts are the wrong choice for displaying negative values graphically. Let's navigate over to another customer record, Western Sport Distributors. And due to a negative value in the 60-day aging total, we're presented with a bar chart instead of a pie chart. And you'll notice the negative 281 is represented with the green field here, and the 0 line is actually above that, so we've got it displaying correctly.
Thanks, Paul. Well, let's look at the underlying code. Barista is designed so that we can easily inject our business logic at various process points throughout the GUI interface. In this particular case, after the window is first shown, we're going to use the ASHO call point to inject some code, the after window show call point code. This only gets executed once when the form is built and shown. We do our initialization here. We put in our use statements and get the position of some controls on the form so we can place our embedded dashboard relative to those controls. Next, we create the pie chart widget and control, setting the control invisible initially. Lastly, in this initialization section, we store the widget object and control using Barista's call point bang.setDevObject method for easy retrieval later. In the after record display call point, that is after displaying an existing record, We analyze our aged balances, then disable the pie chart if all balances are 0, or retrieve the widget in control using call point getDevObject, set the data for it, and enable it. One of the things you'll notice here, because Barista is designed for multiple languages, we're using the getTranslation method of the translate object to translate those labels for the particular pie chart. Finally, for housekeeping, we put the following code in the after new record call point, in other words, where we don't want to have any information set to those values. We retrieve the widget and set the amounts to 0, then once again make it invisible. Next time you download BBJ, just go and check the selection box for add-on software and you can get access to the source code. Take advantage of it, borrow it, use it in your own applications. Next, let's have a look at embedding a widget in a visual profile application. First step you need to do is install BBJ on your server. If you're using map drives, a very bad idea, specifically from a performance viewpoint, never mind data integrity, set BBJ to use shared file access. If, however, you're using a data server, which is recommended, either Pro5 or highly recommended BBJ to get advantage of all the functionality of the basis database management system, such as replication, xkeyed files, etc., use the data server. Then all you have to do is scall to the browser to invoke the BUI app to pop up a widget for your CUI or GUI Visual Pro 5 application. So let's have a look at a schematic. This is how you might have yourself configured. Pro 5 data server connecting from your Visual Pro 5 client to a server where your data resides. And you could be running CUI or GUI code. And what you would then do, as I said, is run an scall to invoke a BUI application running in BBJ. Let's have a look at that in action.
When you combine the power of BBJ's BUI technology with its dashboard utility, you can build a flexible, web-based dashboard application. We can write a short BUI app that takes parametric input from the URL, just like every other CGI application on the World Wide Web, and use it to gather the desired information from our database, build one or more dashboard widgets, and then display the resultant charts to the user. This example augments an older character-based BBX application running in Visual Pro 5 by adding our AR aging pie chart. The app originally showed aging information for a customer in numerical form only due to the limitations on the character screen. After receiving the desired customer number from the user, the program opens up the customer data file via data server syntax, issues a read record, and then fills in the aging information on the screen. To improve our CUI app, we added in a short routine that pops up our BUI app in a browser and displays the aging information graphically in a pie chart widget for the current customer. Here's a look at the routine that we use to display the chart. Note that it simply executes an scall and launches the URL to our BUI application, providing the desired cusnum for the query string. Now when we run our application, we get to see a graphical representation of the aging data in our character program. By adding an scall to our BUI app, we've greatly enhanced our CUI program with graphical charts, courtesy of the Basis dashboard utility.
Thanks, Nick. Let's consider our last use case scenario. You're running Pro 5 and you want to embed a widget with Pro 5. First thing you'll need to do is install BBJ on the server. If you don't have too many BBJ users, you can use shared file access. But what happens if you're running SCO Unix or you want BBJ on a separate server? No problem. Install BBJ to the separate machine on Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever operating system is your choice that will support the latest version of Java. BBJ will then use Pro 5 data server to access the data. And under terminal emulation, you can specify that a URL goes to the BBJ server and delivers a BUI app to your application. The example we're going to use is to use an escape sequence with the PuTTY terminal emulator to launch the browser and call up a widget on the terminal emulator PC. Depending upon your choice of terminal emulation software, you may have another method to invoke a browser from within your application code. Here's a schematic. So here you're running Pro 5 on the server with terminal emulation, and you would invoke shared file access after installing BBJ on the server, and then you can create a browser window that'll be popped up from within your terminal emulation session. If you can't run on the same server, install BBJ on a separate server and connect via Pro5 data server. You can still just invoke the application to show the buoy side from your browser session. Let's have a look at a demonstration of that.
The Basis dashboard can be utilized in a number of different ways, and this example shows how we can enhance a Pro5 character-based application with charts from the dashboard utility. Since we are using a Windows machine, we launch our PuTTY terminal emulator, which logs us into our Unix machine. After launching our CUI Pro5 app, we can view our standard Chili Company customer information in a numerical format. Up until this point, everything is straightforward and similar to how Business Basic programs have been run for years. We're about to change that, though, by adding in a graphical view of the customer aging data. The secret lies in having our Pro5 program send an escape sequence that the PuTTY client recognizes and executes as a local system call. This means that our remote Unix Pro5 program can launch a browser on our local Windows machine and set the URL. The browser then runs our buoy app, which can be hosted anywhere on our network, and displays the same aging information in a dashboard pie chart widget. The system is incredibly flexible, as you can utilize any BBJ installation. It can be installed on the same machine as Pro5 and use shared locking so that both Pro5 and BBJ can access the same data files at the same time. BBJ could also be installed on a different machine on the network and access the same remote BBX files via the Pro5 data server. With our new code in place, our Pro5 CUI app has been transformed. In this example, we've taken our pie chart a bit further by making it three-dimensional and providing custom label formats. Instead of simply pointing out which slice goes with which aging category, our labels now include the aging dollar amount. We've formatted the values as currency, so they exactly match our CUI application, and the widget now provides a detailed view of the amounts.
Thanks, Nick. You may be asking yourself, why are we using the browser user interface for BBJ instead of xcall? Xcall, as you know, is a Pro5 and or Visual Pro5 verb that can be used to call a BBJ program in the same fashion that you might call a Pro5 program. Well, xcall is bidirectional. So one of its features is that you're passing in parameters to the called BBJ program and then receiving information back from that called BBJ program to the Pro5 program. When we're embedding widgets, we don't need information back from the widget. And whereas xcall requires both Java and the BBJ thin client to be installed on the client machine, buoy only requires a reasonably current browser to be present on that client machine. So with less installation and easy implementation, it is easy to see why we chose to go buoy. So how much does all of this technology cost? For legacy licenses that aren't current with SAM, you may need to add BBJ. You may need to upgrade from Standard Edition to Enterprise Edition to accommodate the process whereby we're running on a separate server. If you're current with SAM, however, you just have to install BBJ 14. And that's regardless of whether you're current on Pro5 or Visual Pro5 with Enterprise Edition. The dashboard utility is included for no additional cost. It's another free BBJ building block utility for your application improvement. Another example we thought might be useful is to talk about how we can get data from a web service. So here's a great one showing your hourly UV index and showing how it becomes more and more intense as the day progresses. And you'll notice how that the bar chart changes the color as we get into the danger zone. Here's some sample code which we've used to create the information from the web service and then populate that information in a chart. So fairly straightforward, but another good example of how you could harvest data from another source, in this case a dynamic live source via a web service, and populate a chart in your digital dashboard. Naturally, you can try all of this for yourself. Go to our homepage, www.basis.com, go to the Showcase option and have a look at the BBX Web Showcase. There you can scroll down to the dashboard demos and you can see all sorts of examples of demos. It doesn't require any installation of any software on your desktop or your browser mobile device. This will all run in buoy in the browser user interface which is running off a server that we host in the Amazon cloud, and on the client side, all you need to have is a modern browser. The client runs JavaScript and HTML5. Similarly, if you want to try out the desktop App Builder customer maintenance app, you can also try that from our BBX web showcase. Simply click on App Builder Custom Maintenance, and you can demonstrate this functionality to your customer base from our web page. So retrofit widgets to your business app, transform your caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly, and in so doing, empower your users to make good business decisions based upon useful information rendered in a graphical format. This is all part of the basis building block strategy to empower you with tools and utilities to improve your business application and add value to your customers. Remember, since all of this is BBJ code, it's all also able to run in the browser user interface. To find out more about enhancements we've made to BUI, have a look at our last Advantage magazine, available online now. So in summary, what have we covered today? We've spoken about what an embedded widget is. We've shown you how you can embed it in BBJ, in Character and or GUI. We've shown you how you can embed it in Visual Pro 5. And lastly, we showed you how we can embed that in Pro 5. Let's take your questions.